Okay, so the first section we'll go through is the contracts of employment. The most important question, what is a contract of employment? So a contract of employment is an agreement between an employer and an employee that stipulates the terms and conditions of employment. So basically it's a legal agreement that there's a clear intention that should one party fail to keep any of their promises, the other party may take an enforcement action for breach of contract. A contract of employment will comprise all of the terms which the employer and the employee have agreed for the purposes of the employee's employment. So for example, if the employee was offered 20 hours per week on their contract and the employer only provided them with 15 hours per week, then that would be a breach of their contract. So what are the legalities of a contract of employment? We have statutory terms, implied terms such as custom and practice, express contractual terms, and incorporated terms. So we often call the statement of main terms the contract of employment, but technically this is not the correct label for it. The statement of main terms is a piece of paper that the law requires you to give to the employees as part of the contract of employment. On top of the statement of main terms that we create for you, it will say that this makes up part of the contract of employment, along with the employee handbook. The contract of employment is not a tangible item and it includes all terms agreed with the employee, as well as some not expressly agreed. Your statutory terms, so basically this is the terms of employment under the Information Act 1994 to 2001. This states that there should be all the requirements held within the employee's written statement of main terms and conditions, and these can range from: you'll have the full names of the employer and the employee, you'll have the address or registered office of the employer in the state, you'll have the title of the job and the date of commencement of the employee's contract of employment. You'll also have the rate or the calculation of the employee's remuneration and the rate of pay for the pay reference period. You'll have any terms or conditions relating to the hours of work, including any overtime hours. You'll also have any terms and conditions relating to paid leave other than the paid sick leave, and you'll have pensions and pension schemes included. Finally, you can also have the notice of employment which the employees must give to the employer and also which the employees are entitled to receive. So moving on to the implied terms. The implied terms are not written or spoken but still govern the employment relationship. So for example, if you have been giving the employees 25 days off for their annual leave, all of the time that they have been employed with your business, you cannot simply switch back to giving them the statutory annual leave, which is 20 days. And express contractual terms, so these are clearly stated either in writing or orally. They are terms, comments and agreements made, potentially even made at the interview stage. And then finally, your incorporated terms. These are brought into the contract through the handbooks, policies, etc. So your statement of main terms and conditions. Under the Employment Miscellaneous Provisions Act, you must provide your staff with 5 key terms of employment in writing within 5 days of their start date. So the 5-day statement, core terms of employment. This includes the employer's name and the employee's name. You have the employer's address. You have the duration of contract, the rate or method of pay, and the normal length of the working day. So we had 65% who hadn't heard about the EU directive, and what that means is we now have updates to the core terms of employment that we must issue within the first 5 days. You can see here the additions are in red. So along with the original terms and conditions that we just discussed, we now have to include the probationary period, the job description, the date of commencement, the terms and conditions related to the hours of working, and also the place of work. So all employees are entitled to receive all these core terms and conditions within the first 5 days of employment. After they've received the first 5 core terms, you have 4 weeks to issue them with their full entire statement of main terms and conditions. So prior to this EU directive, you would have had 8 weeks to issue this document, but now you have 4 weeks to issue their document. So their full contract of employment, you must issue that within 4 weeks of their start date.